Leadsom MP, the leader of the House of Commons, who joins us from a studio nearby in a lovely warm place.
Yes, morning.
Morning, how are you?
Very well, thanks.
How humiliating was this for the Prime Minister on a scale of 1 to 10?
It wasn't humiliating. The Prime Minister has been listening to colleagues right across the House. We've had 3 days of very intense debate with colleague after colleague saying that the prospect of the UK being permanently stuck in a backstop was unacceptable. And so what the Prime Minister has done is she took the decision yesterday morning to go back to Europe to seek the legal reassurances that puts the UK Parliament with that democratic accountability to take decisions, and that's why this debate was postponed. She will come back and we will resume the debate, but it's absolutely right that we get a deal that UK Parliament can support.
What will that deal be that is different from the deal now? Just explain to our listeners.
Well, it is a negotiation, so I can't, crystal ball gaze, but for example, the Prime Minister might look at something like an addendum to the withdrawal agreement that sets out that the UK Parliament would decide prior to the UK entering some sort of customs backstop, and that the UK and EU Parliaments might then vote on an annual basis on whether to extend that for a further year. And there might be checks and balances to ensure that if the situation had changed, if alternative arrangements had been found, if there was a technological solution to the border in Northern Ireland, that would obviate the need for the backstop. So it would be possible, without changing the withdrawal agreement, to add to it via an addendum that makes the UK Parliament able to make those democratic decisions.
And what if we come back with something and the UK Parliament still rejects it?
Well, then, we are then in the legal default position of leaving the European Union without a deal next March. That is the position as it currently is. So I know that the Prime Minister, in the interests of the United Kingdom, will want to have a deal. And so, we will continue to seek means by which to get a proposal that Parliament can support.
Would that include extending Article 50?
Well, that is absolutely not government policy.
At the moment, we know that things change.
We are committed.
You'll have noticed.
Well, we're committed to fulfilling the decision taken by the people of the United Kingdom at the referendum, which was the biggest democratic exercise ever taken, and people decided we wanted to leave the European Union.
Which is the worst option, if I may, then?
EU.
Which is the worst option? No deal or extending Article 50?
In my view, extending Article 50.
Really?
Yes, I think people voted to leave the European Union, and it is vital that we seek a deal that is good for the UK and good for the EU. And that is what the Prime Minister is seeking to do right now. And let's be clear, none of the opposition have put forward any alternatives that are either negotiable or workable. What the opposition amendments to the government motion all do is seek to reject what the government's doing and to not put in place any alternative suggestions.
So no deal is preferable to more time to get a better deal?
Well, the UK people voted to leave the EU. 17.4 million of them voted to leave the European Union.
But surely it's better to have more time so that we can get a deal which has more support in Parliament and support amongst the British people, and a deal that is more to your personal liking and your party's liking than actually plunging into the uncertainty and the perilous waters of no deal. I don't really get what you're saying.
So the UK, the government has been completely clear that we do not seek or expect no deal. However, we are preparing for all eventualities, including no deal, and I sit on the committee that reviews preparations for no deal, which are far advanced. But at the same time, it is not our expectation or intention that we end up with no deal, but that is the legal default option, and we will be leaving the European Union on March the 29th, 2019.
Do we have enough time to prepare for no deal, to adequately prepare?
Yes, I mean, the UK has advanced preparations for no deal, but as the Prime Minister set out yesterday in the 3-hour statement that she gave answering questions from MPs, is that we cannot control the preparations of other parties. So our EU neighbours' preparations for no deal may not be as advanced as the UK's, and those are things that are not within our control. But the UK's preparations for no deal are far advanced.
Where are we on aviation, for example?
Well, the UK is preparing for all eventualities, and in my view, the UK will survive and thrive in all scenarios. But we do not expect or wish to see the UK leave with no deal. We are seeking to get some further concessions to ensure that the UK Parliament will be able to choose and not be stuck in a permanent backstop arrangement, and that's what the Prime Minister is seeking to negotiate right now.
OK, let me just play you. I'll ask you another couple of questions in a second, but this is the President of the European Commission, excuse me, Jean-Claude Juncker. Have you heard of him?
Mrs. May, this evening, and I have to say here in the Parliament, as I did say before in this Parliament, the deal we have achieved is the best deal possible. It's the only deal possible. And so we cannot... There is no room whatsoever for renegotiation. But, of course, there is room, if used intelligently, is room enough to give further clarifications and further interpretations without opening the withdrawal agreement. This will not happen. Everyone has to know that the withdrawal agreement will not be reopened.
So, you heard that. What concessions do you want?
Well, in my view, we could seek an addendum to the withdrawal agreement that sets out the right of the UK Parliament to decide, should it become necessary to enter the backstop, to vote on that, and then potentially every year thereafter the UK and EU Parliament to make a decision annually on whether to extend it. That might be one idea that the Prime Minister might pursue. There are various different alternatives, and as you've heard...
Are you confident that that particular tweak, or perhaps some would argue a lot more than a tweak, which Mr. Juncker has said would be, unacceptable. Are you confident that that would get through Parliament?
Well, I think the key thing here is that colleagues right across the House have said the real deal breaker for them is the prospect of the UK being stuck permanently in a backstop that we can't get out of. And that is what people have indicated is the real problem. So if the Prime Minister is able to negotiate an addendum, as was put by Jean-Claude Juncker, the clarifications or the indications, I can't remember exactly what words he used, but that does suggest that the EU will be willing to concede on that point. And I think it's essential that they do, because,
Is this a diversion, if I may? Because surely we should be focusing on finding a longer-term solution to the border rather than concentrating right now on the backstop. Aren't people a little bit fixated on that?
No. I mean, I'm glad you raised that, because actually the longer-term solution is very clearly set out in the withdrawal agreement. That is that where alternative arrangements are found, which might be a technological solution, it might be a political solution, where that's found, then the backstop will not be necessary any longer. And that's already clearly set out in the withdrawal agreement. So that, if you like, the provision for the longer term is already clear. What the real concern is of parliamentarians is the prospect that that may never happen, and then the UK could be trapped in the backstop permanently. So it's that democratic will of the UK Parliament that is the real stumbling block.
We could talk all morning. We could talk forever. It is so involved, and the implications are so various. Thank you very much for